Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 26 days away from its official release by Disney and Lucasfilm, as well as creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, with Episode 9 just on the horizon and just weeks away from its release by Disney and Lucasfilm, a lot of fans are either very worried about this movie, very excited about it, or apathetic about Episode 9 and what's coming their way by director J.J. Abrams. Now, we do know that Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J., they really want to actually create this movie in order to make it by far the most successful film out of the entire sequel trilogy and perhaps even a fan favorite of the entire Skywalker saga, which honestly, the way things are looking, I'm not quite sure if it'll be a fan favorite of the entire saga, but perhaps, and only perhaps, the best film of the sequel trilogy. Now, with that being said, we do know that many different changes and adjustments have actually happened throughout the months of this year of 2019, and what's really intriguing and unfortunate has all to do with, of course, creator George Lucas, is that it's explained that during the months of August, September, and October is when many adjustments and changes were made to the second and third acts of the movie. It's explained that this was all done by Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, and Lucasfilm to create a new tone for the film for those acts that would cater more to a general audience. Now, it's explained that many of those changes were rooted from the massive reshoots and rewrites that took place during those months, and that recently, Disney and Lucasfilm actually brought in creator George Lucas to fix many of the scenes in which Episode 9, it's explained that one of the major scenes that George Lucas fixed during post-production recently was a sequence in which Luke Skywalker would use a powerful Force power in the third act of the movie, and that George worked closely with the visual effects team to fix many aspects of that particular scene surrounding the characters of Luke Skywalker. It's unclear as to what kind of power this is going to be, however, George was actually said to have a say in the matter for the ending of the film. It's explained that George Lucas completely reset the ending of Episode 9 and changed many of the scenes, themes, and dialogue coming from certain characters like Palpatine, Rey, and Kylo Ren, and even Luke, and that this was all done to create a new tone for the third act of the movie. However, it's explained that Disney and Lucasfilm left out around 50% of George Lucas directed scenes for the ending of the movie, and that half of George's work was completely cancelled and deleted from the film's ending, where he was only left with 50% or so of the scenes that he directed and wrote for the film, and that many of those scenes for the ending involved Luke Skywalker and Palpatine action scenes, as well as more action surrounding the Knights of Ren, and that would have made the ending of the film more action-packed than how it is now. So let's go over a couple of parts about this and as to why this spells a recipe for disaster, of how they left out 50% of George's work at the very end of Episode 9. Now, let's dive into this a little bit, because a lot of fans are very much, confused with exactly what's going on with The Rise of Skywalker. Now, back in late 2018 is when George actually hopped on for the rewrites of Episode 9. You guys may very well be aware that that's exactly when they were making major adjustments to, of course, the core points of Episode 9's plot. Then later on, they actually began filming once more in the beginning of 2019, where more reshoots took place in late 2019, like August, September, and October. During that time is when George Lucas was actually said to even be more involved with Episode 9, with the reshoots and all, and that the late thing right now, just last minute material, that Disney and Lucasfilm are now in a phase of desperation where they needed George's help to cut out scenes, put new ones in. However, during that process, George Lucas actually lost 50% of his scenes that he actually deleted, or should I say worked on and directed, that were deleted by Disney and Lucasfilm, specifically for the ending of Episode 9. So 50% of the scenes that George Lucas worked on for The Rise of Skywalker were actually deleted by, of course, President of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, who runs all things Star Wars. And I think that, when you bring on George Lucas, it really seems like that there is a good chance that, and I'm hoping that this won't be the case, but it seems like that Disney and Lucasfilm has a plan in place to use him as a scapegoat if things go wrong with this movie, or if fans actually begin to have a form of a backlash against this movie or complain about the film. It really seems like that if they really wanted to, they could use George Lucas as a scapegoat with The Rise of Skywalker if they wanted to do that. Now, like I say, this movie does have a lot of ups and downs with it. You know, we do know that this movie is going to really reset some elements of the past 8 Star Wars movies. A prime example of this is that Palpatine never really died. And we saw a great example of what happened with that. You know, Kathleen Kennedy basically got caught in a little lie a couple of days ago that, you know, Palpatine was in the works since 2014, where really Colin Trevorrow was able to actually confirm that Palpatine was never in the cards since 2014. He actually was only created by J.J. Abrams once he stepped in after Colin Trevorrow was fired by Lucasfilm. And that is a big deal. It tells us that Palpatine was shoehorned into this movie and essentially just used as a way to become a new villain to justify the alliance between both Rey and Kylo Ren. So to have, of course, George Lucas involved with these particular scenes in the ending of Episode 9 and how he lost half of his work for the ending of Episode 9 really is a big deal. To me, it really is a recipe for disaster. It tells us that Disney and Lucasfilm, they don't know exactly what they're doing with Episode 9, and that Kathleen Kennedy really isn't best suited for Star Wars. I feel that now, and especially now, we do need somebody else to run Lucasfilm as president in order to bring Star Wars in a different and better direction, right? So with that being said, we do know that J.J. Abrams is currently, you know, trying to patch everything together from start to finish with George, and that they are nearing the completion of everything related to all the edits and the adjustments before the official premiere of this movie, which, by the way, is when you're going to get all the real reactions of Episode 9. However, about those reactions, I wouldn't really get too excited about them once they do come out in mid-December, because with The Last Jedi, I think it was Patton Oswalt who compared Luke's scenes to like John Wick or something like that, or some other action or some other kind of action character, and a lot of fans got excited about that. So with the reactions that will come along with, you know, the premiere on Twitter, just, you know, remember The Last Jedi's reactions. I just want you guys to remember that. So with that being said, alright, this movie does have a lot going for it. There is still a chance that it could very well serve as the best film of the sequel trilogy, without a doubt. I'm still a Star Wars fan regardless. I'm just concerned about exactly where things are going and how there have been a lot of adjustments going on behind the scenes over at Disney and Lucasfilm in order to really mark this down as a very successful Star Wars movie and to really make it a very authentic film. But by cutting out a lot of George Lucas's work, it really seems like that they kind of just brought him in and had him help with the movie and then just said, all right, you know, let's just do away with some of your work. It just doesn't seem right to me, and it seems a little unfair for George. We do know that George Lucas even expressed that he felt betrayed with The Force Awakens, and this was all said by Bob Iger, and that even Kathleen Kennedy confirmed the other day in that interview with Rolling Stone that George may not like all the directions that, that J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson went through with The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, but he appreciates their filmmaking, and that's what she had to say. So the last piece that I just want to touch on here involving George Lucas and all and everything related to Episode 9 is that this movie really is crucial, and I can't stress this enough because it really is crucial, because it will determine the future of the franchise and where it's going to stand throughout the 2020s. We're talking about Disney Plus, we're talking about the new Star Wars universe that they are actually planning, and even the new Star Wars trilogy, this new mythology that Disney and Lucasfilm are trying to craft beyond Episode 9. In fact, Kathleen Kennedy has actually said they already have a director on board for the new trilogy, and that's one thing to really look forward to. You know, we're actually going to learn more about that in January of next year, so just a couple of months from now, we're going to learn about the new Star Wars film by Kathleen Kennedy, you know, what she has to say about it and who's a part of it, who's going to write it, who's going to direct it. So a lot of things are coming our way for the future of the franchise, and especially for The Rise of Skywalker, and where things are really going to stand with Episode 9 really all do depend on how Disney and Lucasfilm are going to patch it all together for the fans and how it's going to resonate with people around the world, especially once it debuts this December. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. nights in the